going to cover DMT now. So DMT stands for distraction, mark, treat. The distraction can be absolutely anything in the environment at all. Doesn't even have to be something that your dog actually reacts to. It's just something that you hear. In the future you would progress it on, but we'll cover that for you in more depth. So your distraction can be things like a noise in the environment, like a car door shutting if you're in your house and your neighbours are coming home, your heating clicking on, dishwashers and things like that, like clicking when they're finished. All sort of noises that happen naturally in your house or in your environment with your puppies and your dogs. You can play this at any age. You are going to be wanting to mark it with a word, and then you're going to follow it with a treat. So for the marking word, you need to charge that up and have it ready so that it means something when you're starting the game. So you're going to use a marker word. There's a lot you can have any word you want, but it's something that means like to be calm and relaxed. So obviously having something that means that to you when you're saying it will help you actually promote that and you be calm and relaxed when you're doing it. So you can use things like calm, nice, chill. You can say relax. Some people will say like, it's okay, but that's something that you're going to be saying in a lot of conversations. So try and have it something that's one word and it's just something that is for that game. It's not something that you'll use in every sort of training that you do. So just for this game, you're going to have a marker word and it is just for this one game, DMT. So your marker word, I'm going to use calm as our example, but like I said, it can be anything. You've got a choice of words you can pick from. So you're going to be literally sitting with your dog, nice and relaxed for starting this. So don't do this if you're in a rush. You want to be feeling relaxed when you're doing this because that's what you're trying to promote when you're playing the game. You're going to say your words and then give your dog a bit of food. And it's simple as that. Don't overthink it. We got a lot of people coming back after we've covered this in class and they're like, I don't think I'm getting it. And they are getting it. They just think it's a lot harder than it actually is. It is just charging up the word. You're saying your words, you're giving a bit of food. So it'll be, I'm using calm. So it'll be calm, you'd give food. Calm, give food. And try and be calm when you're saying it. So it'll be a nice calm food. Not calm and food. You don't want that. It's not going to be calm. Your dog's going to be like, what are we doing now? You want to be nice and chilled. You're relaxed. Your dog's relaxed. Everyone in the environment that you're in is relaxed. Say your word, give a bit of food. So if you're using a different word, it's literally say your word, give some food. Say your word, give some food. And for us, we're using calm. So it'll be calm, you food. And your delivery should be calm as well. So it's not like calm, it's just calm and some food. Everything about it should be nice and relaxed. You're going to charge up your word for at least a week, doing it numerous times in a day, just maybe 5 bits of food at a time. So it will be calm, food, calm, food. If something happens during one of those training processes, just make sure that you cover it. So if the door goes, say your word, give a bit of food, and then carry on getting the door. Don't panic about it. We are just charging up the word, so it's not going to affect the overall result of the game. DMT we use so that you are acknowledging things that are happening in the environment with your dog. You will have heard probably if you've done any kind of research online or if you've had a dog a few years ago, they'll have said to you not to encourage them to be fearful of things, but you can't actually encourage and reinforce a negative feeling. So with this game, we're not working on their outward behaviour, we're actually working on how they feel inside. So their emotional response to a stimulus, so which is your distraction, is what we're actually working on. So if your dog chooses it currently to bark when they hear a sound, that's usually a sign that they're anxious about it, they're unsure. It's not that they're happy and excited. If they're barking because they're happy and excited, it's they're too happy, too excited. So again, you want to just level that down. So this is all about promoting calmness for your dog. Things happen, like noises happen, they'll see things happening in the day, but you want it to be just a non-event. So if the door goes, your dog kind of just goes, yeah, the door's gone. Not like, the door's gone, go and get it. You don't want that really high energy response to something that happens loads of times in a day or in a week or just your daily life. Things that happen all the time should be a non-event for your dog. They shouldn't really care about it. That's what DMT is going to be working towards. So if you bring a new dog into your home, they'll usually, for the first couple of weeks, they'll be reacting to loads of things and they'll be like, did you hear that? Did you see it? That kind of response where they're like, that's what we're working on, to bring it back down where they kind of just go, oh yeah, that just shrugged off. They don't really care that it's happened. So an example I'll use is like if you hear like your neighbour noise next door. So your dog's sitting down, chilling out, not doing much. The noise happens, your dog barks at it. That is what you're going to be working on, not the bark. You're not caring about the bark, you're caring about the whole event. So the noise has happened. you're aware of it, you say your word that you've charged up, you give your dog a bit of food. Completely ignore what your behaviour is that you're seeing. So if your dog chooses a bark, completely ignore that. It actually doesn't matter what their behaviour is. It's the emotional response that we are working on in this. So it doesn't matter what their choice behaviour is. We are working on making sure that they feel okay about it so that behaviour will just disappear anyway. If they're not anxious or scared about it, they're not going to vocalise that in any way. They're not going to show it to you. That behaviour just goes away by working on how they feel about the situation. So the marker word is basically you saying, yeah, it's okay, I've seen it, I heard it, it's fine though, don't worry. Obviously in a much tidier way, so you're not going like, it's fine, don't worry, it's okay. You're not doing that, you're literally saying one word, giving them a bit of food. The fact that you're pairing it up with a bit of food helps the emotional response. Them eating helps them calm down. It releases hormones that helps them feel nice, calm, relaxed. So that's the whole point of this. Literally just notice it. So the distraction, whatever it is, noise, sound. You can use scent, but we struggle with scent. Obviously, we don't smell as well as dogs do. So if there is, say you're out on a walk and you smell like that kind of backfired car smell on your walk, you would say your word, give a bit of food until you move through that area. So you would smell it, say your word, give a bit of food, keep moving through, say your word, give a bit of food until you get past it, and then you would carry on as normal. This is the good thing about DMT, it's short and sharp. So say you're doing a training session and something happens and your dog goes, say your word, give a bit of food. What you're actually going to be working on and what you'll see when we go into detail is it doesn't actually matter if your dog reacts to it. If you're aware of it, say your word, give a bit of food, because we want to make sure that we are pairing things that they react to and what they don't react to. Remember, the behaviour doesn't matter, so any reaction, any kind of, oh, what was that? You still want to work on that. See if they actually don't react at all. That's great. That means you've got something in your bucket that they're not reacting to. So, for example, like a car door shutting. If you hear a car door shutting, you're aware of it and your dog still lies and sleeps, that's fine. If they're fully asleep, you don't need to work on it. If they're sitting on their bed just chilling out or they've got a chew toy or something, you would say your word, go up and give them a bit of food. Because even though they didn't react, if you heard it, they definitely heard it. So just make sure that you're marking it as well. So you're not just working on something that they obviously react to, you're working on any kind of distraction in the environment. And this is where people make a mistake. They get really caught up on it and they think that the dog has to be doing something. They really don't. So just think of it as clear as it is. So it's distraction, something happens. So either they see something, they hear something, you smell something, you mark it with a word that you've charged up. We used calm in our example, and then you give them a bit of food. And it's really as simple as that. Try and not get caught up in this one. And the more you do it, the more natural it'll become. It's really something that you will start doing, just something you're working with your dog, something happens, you say your word, you give a bit of food, and you move on. Same idea if you're walking towards a person, say they're on the other side of the road and your dog's pulling to get to them, you would still say your word and give a bit of food. In that instance, you would probably stop and just work on that area, then move on when the person's passed you by. We see it a lot, it works really well for the movement of cars. Again, you would stay at a safe distance, let the car pass by. As it comes into your eyesight, you'll be saying your word, giving a bit of food. And that's what we're using it to mark events, to go, yeah, it's okay, don't worry about it. It's not something to make a big fuss of. It literally should just be something happened. Here's your word to mark it for you that I've noticed it too. Here's your bit of food. And that's how it should be. Try and not overthink it. When you're using DMT out and about, it will become really natural to you. So again, when you're working with your dog, even if your timing's slightly out on it, still just go with it. Don't make a big fuss if anything was wrong with your timing. Just carry on, do it, move on and do whatever it was you were doing before the event happened. So DMT is a really good one to counteract any negative experience. You're not just working on negative experience, but it is one that works really well to counteract it. So if your dog gets a fright, say something falls over, quite often you'll see in your house, like you'll have put your mop against the wall and it'll fall over and hit on the floor and your dog will go, oh, and they'll sort of shimmy away from it. That's one where you would say your word, give a bit of food. You wouldn't be encouraging your dog to come up to the item. You're literally just, oh, that was a bit scary. Say your word, give a bit of food. So any distraction at all in the environment, you're going to mark it and give your dog a bit of food. For the first couple of weeks of this game, it's really intense, but then it just starts to, you'll see it more natural. Like you'll do lots of stuff in the first couple of weeks because your dog will react to a lot of stuff, or you'll hear a lot of stuff, you'll be more aware of it. as you sort of progress through, it naturally goes into a more relaxed, it's only as and when you need it. But once you've charged up your word, you're playing your game, your first few weeks of it will be quite intense, and it's a 24/7 game, so ideally, this doesn't happen often, but ideally, if something was to wake your dog up in the night, so for example, if your neighbours aren't often out late and they come home at say like 3-4 in the morning, a lot of dogs will react to that because it's not something that happens regularly. So you would again just say your word and give a bit of food, which is why it's ideal to have little pots of treats lying around, or having a treat bag. Obviously, if you're in your bed, you're not going to have it on you, but when you're moving around the house, have a treat bag on you so that if anything happens, you're there ready, say your word, give a bit of food.